Hi, everybody. Mark McDonald with First United Methodist Church of Batesville again, and we're in week 8. We're on the third and fourth day right now. These two really go together. They're a part 1 and a part 2. Today we're looking at the third day, day 3, which is the theme for both days is obedience is costly. So over the last couple of days, we've talked about how we are adjusting our life to God and how that means that we have to find this in a real personal way, how we make those adjustments, what kinds of adjustments we may need to make, how we give ourselves to that. Today and tomorrow, we're going to talk about how obedience is costly. And specifically today, I want to read 3 statements that come at the beginning of the workbook on day 3. The first one, you cannot stay where you are and go with God at the same time. Listen to that. The second one, obedience is costly to you and those around you. And the third one, obedience requires total dependence on God to work through you. In each of those 3 statements, we're going to look at them several times here in the next few days, but in particular today, I want you to look at those because they can be overwhelming. But I want you to hear a couple of things before you dive into this, or if you've already looked at it, I want to give you a little bit of reassurance. One is, nobody's asking you to do this alone. First and foremost, you're doing this with God. God does not fail, does not disappoint. God is working with us every step of the way. So when we say total surrender, it doesn't mean that we will be alone. We always have God in this process. But the second thing I want you to hear is that we're not asking you to adjust your life to what others tell you to adjust to. We're asking you to adjust your life to what God says to you, what God gives you as God's will. And so we work very hard to discern in this process. When we say experiencing God is knowing and doing the will of God, the word that we use a lot in the United Methodist Church is discernment. And that's a big one. Discernment is a powerful word because it doesn't mean do what I tell you. It means know and do the will of God. It means know and do it, understand it. So while you hear this today about how costly obedience is, and those 3 statements that remind you of the cost to others around you, know this, you are not alone. We're supposed to be sharing this together. So if you're not part of a small group, you know, for 3 years you've had me as a pastor here, you know I talk about small groups all the time. Church worship services are important. Small groups are essential to your faith. You have to have others to talk about so that you don't run down the wrong path. Today is talking about the work that we do to discover, to discern, to know and do the will of God. Remember that as you work through this today and tomorrow, most especially. Be a blessing today.